What is going on, everybody? Another episode of 4x4 Camping and Adventures. Welcome to 2023, first video of the year. And I wanted to talk about everyone's favourite subject when we're talking about Y62 patrols, fuel economy. Going to go through all the details of how this performed on a 500k round trip, towing a pop-top caravan, and go through all the details, fuel economy that it used, and hopefully bust a few myths in this video as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, before we get into crunching all the numbers and that kind of stuff, I think we need to have a beer. Actually enjoying these Feral Brewing XPAs, their new one. Absolutely really nice pale ale. So props to Feral. Cheers for the New Year's, guys. Beautiful. All right, fuel economy. Y62 Patrol. It's petrol V8, big car. This thing here, with four of us in there, I think we're around the probably 3.4 ton scale. Heavy car, pretty much a GVM. I'd say we're pretty close to GVM, right? The pop-top caravan we're towing, the Goldstream, it's just a pop-top out with canvas in the middle. That weighs, or it weighed about 1.8 tons. We put about 200 kilos in there, put batteries and that kind of stuff in there, but it's about 1.8 tons. So obviously on the screen, I'm going to put the total result here because I can't work it out in my head. But on the screen right here, you're going to see the total result of the weight of the two vehicles, the vehicle and the caravan. We did a 500k trip to Pemberton and back. Stayed down there at Carry Valley Resort in the caravan park area. Beautiful spot. Was down there for 3 days, and we did a bit of driving around the area as well. So it wasn't just sort of there and back. We did a bit of driving around the area. Went to Pemberton. Went to the falls, checked out the trees and all that kind of stuff, the forest, all the usual stuff you do when you're going on a bit of a holiday. Now, the interesting part, I suppose, around fuel economy is most people think these are quite thirsty, towing a big van or towing any kind of thing. The actual fuel economy that I use for the, let's say, 500k round trip was 20.98 litres. So let's round it up to 21 just to make life easy. 21 litres per 100. Now we're talking about not a flat road. If you've ever driven from Bunbury to Pemberton through the Manjimup way, it's quite hilly. There's a lot of hills, a lot of things you need to drop gears, it's going back into third sometimes, revving the guts out, all that kind of stuff when you're going on those big hills. But that was the end result, 21 litres per 100. And talking about, I've still left the weight up there. I actually think that's not too bad. So we're talking about 3.4 tonne of car, fully loaded, all the gear inside, and then obviously ripping a pop-top camper down there as well, and we're using 21 litres per 100. So I suppose on the tail end of this as well, what we're sort of going to look at when we upgrade to a bigger caravan, I could say they'll probably go up 2 to 3 litres, so we're probably more around the 24 litre mark. Let's say towing a 20 foot, 2.5, 2.2 tonne van. I would say that's probably all around the 24 to 25 mark, but I'm actually not that unhappy about that result, really. I went through, on the way back, I went through Old Vass Road, so you can go back through just before Busselton, so you sort of drive back through Nannup and all that kind of stuff. So that was pretty much as hilly, so gives you a bit of an idea of what these things are going to be like in fuel economy in pretty average conditions, because it wasn't a flat straight road, towing a decent size pop-top camper trailer or pop-top caravan behind you. So as I said, not too unhappy about that. 21 litres per 100. Now, I've heard stories every single way that these things are thirsty. Now, I don't think any TD 42, TB 48, any car, or ZD30, most of your Hiluxes and that kind of stuff, they're probably going to pull in from like 15 to 16, so the same kind of, weight and that kind of thing, or not weight, but the same kind of setup. But you're also losing a lot of weight with those cars as well, so I don't think they're comparable. If you compare this to like a big Patrol, big Land Cruiser, 80, all that kind of stuff, they're all using almost 18 litres around, just driving down the highway. So, look, it's a big car, it's towing a decent size, camper trailer, and I think pulling 21 out of that is not a bad result at all. So, look, if you're going to look at one of these cars, I suppose that's the big part. You're watching this video, you've probably typed into YouTube, Y62 fuel economy. I'm talking about a fully set up, you know, big heavy car. If you had a stock version of one of these, you're going to lose about 500 kilos straight away, possibly more depending on your setup. So you could probably, safe to say, towing like a pop top, you know, Goldstream, Jayco, you know, Swan or something like that, I reckon you'd be under 20, and that's pretty damn good for the size of the car. Like, let's be real here, that's pretty damn good. So, so that's sort of my fuel economy wrap up. The funny story is, when I went to Monkey Mia, right? So I went to Monkey Mia, did a very similar fuel economy, you know, trip there. I didn't have the bull bar on at that point, and I definitely didn't have probably a few extra things that I put a little bit more weight on it. So I was probably about 200 kilos lighter. And when I did that trip, I pulled in 19.1 litres, and that was towing a ton. So I had a different type of camper trailer back then. So to give you an idea that even so, with all the extra little bits I've put onto it, it's only really jumped about 1 litre to 2 litres per 100. So pretty happy with that. I could probably get a range of, I mean, I had, what was it? I think I put 95 litres in. I'll put it up on the screen, but it was at 95 litres in. It's got a 140 litre tank. At this point, I reckon I can get about 600 to, let's say, 650 if I'm perfect straight road of towing, I reckon, out of this. So about 650 out of a tank, towing. So consistent, driving down a highway, I reckon that's what I'll get out of this. I reckon I'll be pushing to get 700, but 650 out of a tank or one of these towing, big car, big, you know, big setup. I reckon I'm pretty happy with that. So, so yeah, that is the video, guys. It's nice, sweet, simple, quick. There's no clickbait here. There's no fluffing around. Just telling you, these aren't as bad as people think. 21 litres per 100 towing, you know, a 1.8 tonne van, big car, big V8. Now, also, you've got the luxury of the car as well, so, you know, it's very comfortable to drive. I'm overtaking anything I need to. If I need to overtake something, I've got all the power in the world to do it. It never struggled anywhere. And the best thing about this car is I drove, what is it, 200 Ks roughly, to Pemberton, and I got out of the car, fully set up the camper trailer, and did not feel tired. That's the best thing about this car. It didn't take it out of me. You know, driving a leaf sprung, you know, ute or something like that, it's very harsh, and you do take a little bit of extra energy out of you to do those big long trips. So driving this, cruise control on, I just had the radar on the whole time. Absolutely perfect, guys. So I'll wrap the video up there. First one for 2023, talking about Y62 fuel economy. Interesting things coming this year, but I'm not going to make a bit of a video about it. I'm going to sort of get some more details and then hopefully reveal a bit more about what's happening with this year, because there's some big plans coming up, and yeah, it's going to be some interesting things that come to the channel for this year. So as always, thank you so much for watching, and chuck me a subscribe and a like if you haven't already, and hopefully I'll see you out here in the tracks and trails, and if not, I might see you in the next video, and if I don't see you in the next video, I shall see you later. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and be safe. Bye.